I interviewed my friend Max. Max is a trans man. I've known him going on about a year now. Um, so I thought it would just be interesting to talk to him and get a perspective on what it means to be trans. Not only what it means to be trans, but what it's like as a trans person living in America. Um, I don't know. We talked, and I asked him some questions that I had. Um, he had some really interesting things to say. Um, I don't know what I was planning on doing with this interview. Um, I don't know. I think Max is an interesting person. I love Max. He's a very close friend of mine. And I wanted to, don't get me wrong, I'm not like somebody with a million subscribers or something like that. But I wanted to talk to Max and give him a platform that he otherwise might not have. Um, I hope that if you watch the interview, I hope that you can take something from it. I hope that if you are a person struggling with your gender identity, or you're a person who is on the fence about transitioning, or you're somebody that is an ally to trans people, or just an ally to the LGBT community in general, I hope that you can get something out of this. If you are not a supporter and you're watching this, um, I wish you no ill will. I hope that you can get a perspective on something that you might not otherwise have had. Um, so it's about a 25-minute long interview. And if you want to skip ahead to the part where we start talking about trans stuff, skip to about the 8-minute mark. That's when we start talking about trans issues, what it's like to be trans, how somebody knew they were trans, and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Um, I don't know. The first 8 minutes we're just kind of talking about Max and Max's background and stuff like that. And then we get into the trans stuff at about the 8-minute mark, 8-minute, 30-second mark. Um, Hope you enjoy it. I hope you get something out of it. So thank you for watching. I am here with Max. Max is an interesting fellow that I go to school with. We've known each other for a year now.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, we've known each other for a year now, and he's a very interesting person. I like him a lot. And so I decided to interview him about a plethora of things. So we'll start with the obvious. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Herkimer, New York, so bumfuck upstate, basically.
Okay, so, and then you lived in,
Everywhere. I lived mostly in like Herkimer, Mohawk Valley, like all throughout there, and then probably when I went to college the first time around, which was in Herkimer as well, I stayed there for probably like another year or two before I went to Syracuse for school the second time around.
yes, we are in Binghamton, New York, by the way,
Yeah.
the southern tier of New York. Um, so you tried school in Syracuse?
Yeah, so like,
I didn't know that about you.
yeah, well, third time's the charm. So actually the school we're doing right now is my third time ever trying community college. So I went to Herkimer College when I first got out of high school, basically. I fell for this guy. It was a whole thing. We lived together. And then I had a hard time after the breakup, moved in with my cousin who lived out in Chenango area, which is basically right near Syracuse. And that's where I met a different guy and started going to school out there. And then that didn't work out, but I still had friends out there. So I stayed out there for another like 2 or 3 years just working and trying to do my therapy journey, which started probably when I was like 21. So
And you're how old now?
I'm about to be 31 in a few weeks.
Okay, 1995.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm 96. So.
95 is the best year, no offense. But
When did you, what were your first two attempts in school? What were they? What did you go to school for?
First time was just general psychology. Second time before I went, I had like like a quarter life crisis kind of. I was like, do I do human services or interior design? Because it's like I love creativity and fashion and house design and just, I don't know, people. So I thought it'd be a cool idea. But the first ever day for when I chose human services, I knew I made the right choice, honestly. Everything that the professor said set so well with me, and just like the different dynamics of like there's actually words for these types of things that happen in families and things like that, you know? So
So then this time around, you're in school for.
so yeah, this time around human services, and then now I'm in for substance use counseling, which is a totally different side of human services, especially with the substance element. But there is that in my history with my family, and I felt far enough removed from it for me personally that I have the empathy for it, I have the education for it, I've seen the firsthand experience of it, but I feel like I'm not like taking on so much like it's a transference thing really. So I'm interested to see how that grows and see how it goes into general mental health maybe one day. But for now, I'm honestly loving it. I really do.
So Max and I are actually in the same classes. We're both in school to be substance and alcohol abuse counselors. And one thing that stuck out to me is at the beginning of this semester, the first semester I didn't really talk to anybody.
Yeah.
You know, I just kind of kept to myself because I was like, people are going to be falling out of this program left and right.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want to make friends and then like have people drop out and all this stuff. But the one thing that stuck out to me is we were in our psychology class and you brought up symbols, and I was like, okay, this guy knows what he's fucking talking about. I was like, so is that come from the human services when you were in human services?
So I was just telling my mom this the other night because I was talking to her about psychoeducation and introspective when you're first starting therapy because she's getting into her own journey now in her 50s. And I was actually talking about how I've been non like actually in school, but been studying a lot of this basically since I was like 13. Like when I first started realizing that there was something wrong with my mental health, I started kind of wanting to be aware. So my curiosity and my self-awareness brought me to different types of books. Some of them were more like juvenile fiction, like Ellen Hopkins, which is more dramatic, of course. And then some of it was like actual like mental health books, just trying to understand like the fact that depression and anxiety are comorbid and things like that, you know, like just foundational mental health education. And then by the time I was going to school for human services, I had done a decent amount of my own work, but I wasn't quite there yet as far as where I am now as psychoeducation, definitely.
Yeah, because I'm always trying to get you to read.
I
Like,
know
I'm
you
always
are.
trying to get you to
I
read.
know.
I'm like, I'm giving you books and like,
I'm so
read
bad
this and
at
read
it.
this. Like,
Maybe I just got to throw an audiobook on. Maybe that's just what's going to click for my brain. The ADHD is weird. I'm terrible at just sitting and reading something. But I do learn a lot from you in classes. Oh my God, I love when we talk in lecture, especially this past semester. But even first semester, I wanted to get you to talk more, and I understood kind of like this separation that you were putting. I obviously didn't understand the reason why, but yeah, I don't know. I just feel like once you started talking, I would get annoyed when you stopped talking because I enjoyed when you would like bring up certain elements of things like I wouldn't expect, especially with the substance use part, you know?
yeah, I think it's important. Like, I knew when I started the class, I was like, half the people that are in this class now are not going to be here next semester.
Yeah.
I knew that. It was very obvious to me. And like, that was true. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of these people that we were in classes with, they drop out, you know, or like a lot of the people, and not to sound rude or anything, but like a lot of the people that are in the program are people that struggle with substance and alcohol abuse disorders. And, you know, like we had one person who will not name, but he had a pretty, like, he was super into the program.
Yeah.
Like he was like really hardcore, like gung-ho about the program and all this stuff. And then he came in the next semester and it's his first day of class and he's like nodding off in class.
Yeah.
And, you know, like he ended up dropping out and he relapsed apparently pretty fucking bad.
Yeah.
From what I've heard from people.
Yeah.
No shame to him. Like,
no, but
you know
like
what I
some
mean?
people
Like,
aren't ready.
no, and he wasn't ready, and that's okay. And he needs to take the time to get himself right before he takes an adventure like being in school.
Yeah.
You know?
The best advice I ever got was my second time around for human services. And the professor said, listen, if you want to be good in this field, you have to take care of yourself first. You should have like your own work and your own trauma work if you've gone through these things that like these feel like similar or like, you know, these hit home for you. And that's exactly what I ended up doing is I wasn't in a good place with my mental health, specifically with my borderline. And I worked on that, and then I tried to get into the workforce just because I was like, okay, I'm going to get financially sound, keep working on my mental health, and then I'm going to go back to school and I'll finally be ready because I've always said third time's the charm because I fucked it up twice and I don't want to do it again. Um, and when I started getting into working on my trauma work and everything else and my BPD stuff kind of I felt like I'd worked through pretty well. It ended up being the gender stuff that ended up popping up a lot more. And then finding that final piece of living authentically as myself since February 14th, 2020. Basically, that was just like the thing that, and I don't know, just interpersonal skills, both with myself and other people improving. And so I feel like you have to have that foundation in yourself in order to help other people. You have to be able to put that oxygen mask on before you help another person, you know?
Yeah. And you kind of mentioned it briefly. Like you brought it up and you brushed over it. Max is a trans man.
Hell yeah.
He is a trans man. I did not know Max is trans. He told me, and I was like, holy shit, like I just thought you were a really twinky gay guy.
I loved your face because, and not only that, but what you said was like so euphoric for me because I was like, you're not wrong, but you also are like only half right. And it was just like, it was really nice. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it really like genuinely took me by surprise.
Yeah.
Like I really had no clue that you were trans, and like, you know, I don't make assumptions about people like that anyway.
Yeah.
Like if I see somebody and like, you know, I don't make the assumption that they're a trans person off the bat, you know, like, because who am I to do that to somebody, you know? But no, that surprised me, and I want to know more about that.
Yeah.
You said February 14th, you said?
Yes.
So Valentine's Day.
Yes, it was a self-love gift to me, my first ever thing I ever really did nice for myself besides start my therapy journey. So at that point, I'd done a lot of interpersonal work as far as codependency. I was just starting to get into my trauma work, and I had also had come to the realization that it wasn't normal to want to like bind your breasts or like cut your hair out of nowhere or like random things like that. I also had instances in like high school where I remember I think it was like some type of science class, like a biology class. I was probably like 14 or 15, and it was the first time I heard about like what intersex people had gone through. Obviously, at that time we used different terminology, but when I learned about it, I went to my first girlfriend at the time and like was crying and was like, oh my gosh, maybe this is why I feel weird. And like I was supposed to be born a boy and my mom never told me and she just chose for me to be a girl. And then I just bottled it up all over again. And then once I was in college the second time is when I started really wanting to explore with masculine clothing. And it wasn't until I'd gotten to a point in 2019 where I was like, okay, I'm going to let myself try out a binder in secret, and I'm going to say a different name at a coffee shop to see how it makes me feel. And I did have some like guidance just because of like being fascinated and enamored by other trans men. I didn't even know you could be trans until I was 18. I mean, I grew up in Herkimer, New York. We don't have that type of education. I was just like, oh yeah, people are like cross dressers or sometimes like guys dress up as girls or whatever, but it wasn't until I met my first trans man that I was like, oh, this is a thing. But I didn't realize I had such a deeper like connection to it until way later.
Do you know who Ed Wood is? I think you'd be fascinated by him as a character.
Really?
He was a film director, and he's known for making like one of the movies he made is Plan 9 from Outer Space, and it's considered like one of the worst movies of all time. It's fucking horrible. But he was in the army, but he was a cross-dresser.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't trans, and I think the only reason that he probably, like, there's a lot of speculation surrounding this.
Yeah.
But the reason he probably wasn't trans was because it was the 1940s, and that stuff wasn't, you know.
Yeah.
And he said that he would wear a bra and panties underneath his uniform.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would go into combat, and he would, like, fucking pray. He's like, I hope I don't get shot, because if they, like, take off my clothing, they're going to see I'm wearing a bra and, like, women's panties. And I don't know. I think it's interesting that, like, you kind of did the same thing, it sounds like, where, like, you experimented, like, here and there. you didn't dive headfirst into it.
No.
You just kind of were like, okay, well, I'm going to wear a binder today.
Yeah.
Or like today I'm going to go into Starbucks and I'm going to put my name down as Max.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you didn't dive headfirst into it. You kind of like dip your toes at first and were like, is this really what I want?
Yeah, it was a tentative thing for sure. I didn't, well, part of it was like, I mean, I knew that this, especially if hormones got involved, because at that point I had met many different types of trans people just personally as friends. And because I was educating myself by like just getting to know more online and stuff, um, I felt at the time I was almost like I would have identified maybe as non-binary, but I never officially did. I kind of would say like on days I dressed more masculine or felt like I was really needed to dress more masculinely, it was like boy mode or boy days. And then it just kind of the more comfortable I felt with it, the more often it happened. And then yeah, so February 14th, 2020, I for like maybe a week or so, because I do little doodles sometimes, drew a like comic panel of like my little chibi face explaining to people that my name is Max, and that if they know me by a former name, that's all well and good, but that person's not here. Like that person is here, but that name isn't here. I was like, thank you for the people who accept me, goodbye to the people who don't. And this is me. It's a boy, basically, is what it said at the end, almost like a birthday celebration. And it was like these little art panels, and I put it on Facebook and Instagram and everything for people. And that was my self-love gift for me, was just being my authentic self.
So what was the reaction to that? Was there like, because there are people that aren't accepting.
Yeah.
Did you find that in your experience, like the people you had surrounded yourself with, were some of them not accepting?
They're definitely nothing directly. I mean, people probably did remove me if they were significant. I didn't notice. But the significant people in my life, like my immediate family and friends, were all very super supportive. A lot of them, like my best friend at the time especially, knew I was kind of struggling behind the scenes. But people that I just was friends with that didn't know, they were all pretty chill. Like I don't remember getting any like hate comments or anything like that. I think most people probably didn't say anything if they were upset with me. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got
It really
lucky. Yeah,
depends.
like I really got lucky. And even then, my grandma's brothers and sisters are all old, like Italian Catholics, and they still like struggle with name stuff or like they haven't seen me or keep their distance. Like there's definitely that kind of thing, but it's kind of like an Irish goodbye. Like there's not really any like argument with the severance from my experience anyway. But
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, I feel like that I feel like would be the hardest part is like I've never experienced it obviously, and
yeah.
like I feel like I'm lucky not having to have experienced gender dysphoria.
Hmm.
I take that as a privilege because like for the people that are suffering for gender dysphoria, I imagine it's pretty fucking painful.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is like people also expect that all trans people have a very specific type of gender dysphoria or things like that, whereas it's so individual, it's so personal to you. Like there are trans women I know that they don't have bottom dysphoria, but they had top dysphoria. There are trans men I know that will do any bottom surgery until they feel comfortable with their body. And I commend them if that's what they feel comfortable doing. For me personally, I'm like, I'm not risking that shit unless I know there's going to be no sensation loss and it's going to be basically like a magical bionic fucking dick because that shit's fucking crazy. It's so much easier for trans women, unfortunately, as far as surgeries and stuff. And also, you don't have to have surgeries and stuff to be trans. Like, there's so many elements to it that people want to assume is the way that trans people are, but it's just like it's such a individualized thing. It really is.
You said something to me the other day that I found really interesting. You were talking about your relationships with other women,
Yes.
and you said at a certain point you stopped looking at them as relationships with two women, but you started to look at them as heterosexual relationships.
Absolutely. Like in the moment when I was in them, especially like my first kiss was with a woman. Pretty much my first everything was with a woman until my first boyfriend, which was I was 19, so it was my first time in college. And I don't know. I always like I would say like I identify as lesbian or bisexual or whatever, but looking back, I never felt an attachment to sapphic culture or like I never really felt like I was loving another woman as a lesbian. I just felt like I was loving a woman. Like I was actually talking to somebody recently about this because I saw about a trans woman that had recently come out, and I followed her journey because I was really like her coming out video was just really moving. And when she was talking about her experience and like realizing her own experience and journey, it made me remember when I was in pre-K. And pre-K, we had like a nap time era, and there was like the little tykes, like you remember like the picnic tables that people would have in like their living rooms. Uh, so it was that, and then I was here, and there was another little girl here, and we had our little mats, and every nap time I would roll under the table to go snuggle with her. And I never felt like it was like a gender thing there. You know, I just was like, I like this girl and it's cute, and like other guys are, but like you don't rationalize or understand that until you start to get these reactions and these expectations from society, and you build this wall between who you have always been and who you are expected to be, you know?
Hmm.
So it's always been there. But
Yeah. And I hear that from a lot of trans people too.
yeah.
Like I was talking to another trans man years ago, like pre-pandemic, I was talking to this trans man. And he always told me that like when he was younger, and he was a girl, um, he always identified with like male characters, and he always like when it was playtime, he always played as Captain Hook or
Hmm.
Christopher Robin, or he was playing as male characters, and he's always had this kind of like obsession with like being a man.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until he was older that he started to realize in his teen years that like, fuck, I am a man.
Hmm.
And I think that people don't understand that like this doesn't just happen.
No.
It's not just like one, like
Yeah.
that's the point that I really want to get across to people is that like, this isn't something that just happens. This is something that starts very young,
Hmm.
and it goes until it cannot go anymore.
Yeah.
And then you have a choice to make,
Yep. And the
and
choice is whether to let other people know who you are or not. It's not whether to take hormone. Like, yeah, sure, those are aspects of that choice, but really, at the end of the day, it seems like such a stark transition to people. I'm demanding this name and this pronoun and all this, like, blah, 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 that people want to take as negative. But genuinely, yeah, it is like layers of buildup, whether it's realizing it. Some people do realize it in early childhood. Some people, take their time. It's an ebb and flow thing, you know. Um, but I truly, yeah, I don't think that it's like a, hey, suddenly I'm inspired by this agenda and now I'm like gonna be this thing. And especially identifying with male characters, but especially being a queer and a gay identifying man, I really always identified with really like angsty but gentle male characters. That's why I really love Max from the Goofy movie, Haku from Spirited Away, uh, Thackeray Binks from Hocus Pocus. So basically every Jason Marsden character ever.
yeah.
Because I'm obsessed with him. He was like such a huge representation for the type of male I subconsciously and eventually consciously found myself seeing myself as, for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just think that that's really important to know, and I just wanted to note that for whoever is watching this that doesn't necessarily agree with trans people, or
Yeah.
you know, that's just something I kind of wanted to highlight. Um, when it comes to people, like if somebody's watching this and they're just like, fuck, I don't feel comfortable being myself. Like I feel like I'm not who I actually am. Like I am somebody else, like that 17-year-old that's watching this right now and they're listening to you talk, um and they are like, I think that I'm a man in a woman's body. What would you say to that person?
I mean, here's the thing. The first thing in my brain is like meditate on it, but I'm sure they already have at that point, especially even if they are 17, 18, and just coming into their adult life and wanting to, visualize what they're setting up for themselves. Uh, But I mean, it was like a night and day difference when I came out. Like I didn't have magical amounts of self-esteem and love for myself, and I certainly didn't know if I was going to feel attractive as a man or if I was going to really feel like, okay, this is the right decision. But I was at this point where the dysphoria was so heavy for me, and I just felt like there was this push and pull. Like I don't know, like gender, it shouldn't be important, but it can be if you're talking about expressing yourself and wanting to, I don't know, I guess I just felt like I wanted to show off a certain type of nurturing in myself that was masculine that wouldn't emerge. And then once it did, I couldn't stop it. And so I feel like if you feel like there's this bullet train inside you of who you are meant to be and it feels authentic to you, go with the flow and freaking feel it out. Like, oh no, I have to change a pronoun or a name, and then, the other side want to bastardize you or make you feel like, oh, look at these trans people. They're like furries going from Mark to Martha and all this. It's not that's not how it is. Like life is growth and change and finding out who you are in your teens and 20s and 30s and so on. Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. So honestly, at the end of the day, if you want to find out who the hell you are, find out who the hell you are and just go for it. It's about making that choice of being you, like and choosing your life. And I haven't looked back since. And it's not always been easy, but I'm really blessed. I really am.
And what advice would you give to people that are like, like somebody that is on the fence? What advice, or like somebody who's just starting their journey into
Oh
transitioning,
yeah.
what advice would you give those people?
Yeah, like people that aren't at that like layered moment. I would say that I mean it's about education, but it's also about being like discerning information, especially right now with media. Like I worry about both youth and older people and how everything gets so skewed on um, gender education and trying to it's hard because it's like you're not going to get it if you don't experience it. That's the point, right? Like you're not going to understand why somebody's gay if you're not gay because you can't feel those feelings for that other. But like if you know what love is and if you know what like not hiding who you are is, then you would understand it. I think the thing that gets in the way for some people is like I haven't fully unwrapped and unraveled myself, so I can't identify with these people who are doing that. So I would say anybody who's like just at like the early stages of looking into anything, whether they are looking into it for themselves or somebody else in their life, absolutely just educating, but being mindful of what information they come across. Trying to not be afraid to ask questions with the right type of people. Like if you have somebody that's close in your life that is in transition, that is an open book, utilize that 1000%. And go from there, basically.
Yeah, I think all that is very important. Again, I'm not trans, um, but I wanted to make this interview because, like, you're my friend and you're trans and I love you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I want to be able to share this stuff with people, and maybe somebody will get some understanding from this video, or maybe somebody who is in pre-transition, they're in that contemplation stage. Maybe they'll get something out of this.
Yeah.
Who knows? And that's why I wanted to make this. That's why I wanted to talk to you. Um, I respect the community that you're a part of, and the LGBT community has always been good to me. They've always been good to me. Always, always, always. They've always been good to me. And if I can give a voice to people in that community, I will gladly do that.
Yeah.
I will gladly do that, and I will make space for them where I can. But let's wrap it up here. Is there anything that you want to say to anybody out there, like literally anybody? Like, is there anything that you want to say? Any final words that you've got?
Okay, let me think. I mean, obviously, thank you to everybody in my life who's loved me and accepted me, whether you're in my life now or not. I appreciate you. You know, sometimes people come into your life at a certain time for a certain reason, and they're a guide, and sometimes people are lifers in your life. Um, just respect yourself along the way. Respect yourself, love yourself, learn to heal, and it's worked out for me so far. It's ebb and flows, like I said. It's not always easy, but yeah, I'm really grateful for friends like you and people that want to be good allies. So thank you.
Of course. That was Max, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching.